hesitant to jump into this government, fearing the backlash that they are just being opportunists. You know, you are just going there because of your stomachs or because of the grandiose, the clamor of office, and that you know nobody knows, for example, what Israel's view of the bottom-up approach, because they disagreed fundamentally and ideologically as to what that is. So I think what President Ruto has done is exactly what Kibaki did when he was hurriedly forming his cabinet in 2007. 2007.
After the
but what he did is he announced half cabinet, so that it is actually a kind of blackmail, so that it makes the others. First, is showing the country, I've acted in good faith, I've consulted, they have not agreed among themselves, so here is my list. That is to put pressure on them to quickly reach consensus among themselves on their share, on who they are fronting for these seats. Now, he has also opened a door, a window for exit from this if it does not work. That I've waited for you, you have not agreed, so I'll go ahead and form on my own, on this side. But remember, he underlined the word consultative government. And I think that is the message he wanted to reach out to reach to Kenyans, that he acknowledged that it is based on the pressure that Kenyans have piled on him. And he said it's almost like a citizen charter. As to whether it will calm those issues and fears about the previous cabinet and the issues of tribalism, opulence, wastage, I am not sure whether that at this stage Kenyans are confident he has acted.
So Tanui has really captured what it means, Ken. But if you look behind the names and the intrigues, what do you see?
I see a president that had to take action ahead of next week on Tuesday. I see a president that was pushed to the wall to form another government. I see a president who is besieged and needs to come out of that exclusion. I see someone who wants to form a team really badly and eagerly to prove to Kenyans that he indeed is willing to do what they wanted. The question now is the devil in the details. Because now scrutiny straight up goes to the new members of this cabinet.
Yes.
The new ones, the names that we've not had, the names that we have had and we never thought they would make it to the cabinet. And of course, the names that have been there in the previous cabinet that ideally last week on Friday, by the way, it's exactly a week. Last week on Friday, he should have decided to retain. Remember what I said last week? The reason why the president had to dissolve the whole cabinet is because pinpointing and cherry-picking who to let go and who not to let would have diverted the conversation straight up. But again, today, what has happened is that conversation is back. And the first question is, why didn't you just let us remain with the 6? Who will be mentioning? Why didn't you just take away the other 15 and let the 6 remain and then try and fill it up? But I like where the conversation is going, because now the big question is, why did he pick 11 and not 21? There are possibly 2 answers to this. He wants a lean cabinet, so we are going to have 15 or 12 or 13. Then the other answer, the other possibility is because the president wants the other side that he is talking to fill in the spaces that are remaining. Because there's nothing that stopped the president from naming all the people he wants in the new cabinet, except for people walking back on a previous conversation, or what is the term? But basically, they say, no, stop first. Let's see what Kenyans will say about the first ones. Then if we see the conversation will favor us, because there are conversations going on in this country that does not favor a government of national unity. That is the conversation in this country right now. So yes, those 2 possibilities are there. So the question is, who are these new people who are coming to replace the old ones?
And Tanui, if you look at the list, the 6 who are retained, including the Prime Cabinet Secretary, they are new names we've never heard of.
Yeah, it was bound to happen that the president is constructing a new cabinet, and he wants people who have no integrity issues.
Yes.
And mostly will borrow from the private sector or the
Yeah.
international NGOs. So I suspect, except a few, that for him, we can't fault him. He's caught between a rock and a hard place. He needs to bring new people, but he can't bring people who come with either political or integrity package. So I think give it to him. We'll probably see how those people will perform. One thing that I think Kenyans really ought to look at is that the president is listening. I think it is a continuous process. It's a process. He has shown he's listening. He's responding. He's at pain to show that I am listening to you. The question that comes with that is, are Kenyans convinced? Remember, this is a president who has been accused of speaking with that, I don't know how to put it, so not necessarily tongue-in-cheek, but a president who is not to be trusted to use this word. He says this, he does this. For example, after he has formed this cabinet, even if it is 15, will he go back and play the game that we are used to by the previous presidents, where he broadens the base of the principal secretaries? And then, remember, he still has, he has done away the CASs until the economy is able to support. But I'm sure at the level of directorships, remember, these are political arithmetic. You want to make people feel that they are in government because they supported the government, and that people are looking at the ethnic origins of the people he has picked. And already their mama saw Monte Kenya again has more, given the 11. We don't know what will happen. And that there is, I think, is it one Kalenjin? So I'm sure the conversation around Eldoret, my place, Baringo, everywhere, there will be. So those are the pressures that the president is going to face. So he's juggling so many balls. And when you do that, you are not going to please everyone. One will fall off. Yeah. On the other, you want to deliver the best economic drivers. The president has said himself, I am going to issue next week the operation manual for delivery for these ministers or cabinet secretaries. So it means they will be having specific terms of references against which will be appraised. I don't know whether by implication this is borrowed from the bottom-up approach that was crafted by Kinandi, but it is important to see that he's going back to the basics and beginning afresh. When you say you are going to give them terms of references, it means they have to do more and more differently than what they've been doing.
So when you're saying they're going to do more, I looked at that list, and the retained ministers or cabinet secretaries, so Ipan Tuya, there was Davis Chirchir, the only man from the Rift, and then there was Alice Wahome, Duale, and of course Kithure Kindiki. Ken?
Yes.
The Kithure, Duale, and Alice were not expected to move out of the ministries. What do you think?
I don't think they were not expected to move. You know, interestingly, I was just
and Soipan.
I was just looking
climate change.
I was looking at the list of Kenya's Attorney General.
Yes.
And I think this is going to make history.
The first woman.
The first woman
Yes,
Attorney
it is.
General.
Miano, yeah.
Yes, Miano, Rebecca.
Yeah.
And remember, she's a performer, right? We've not heard a lot about her.
Yeah.
She was
From
moved to the Ministry
Kenyan?
of Trade. Yes, she was from Kenyan. Then she was moved to the Ministry of Trade after Moses Kuria, right?
Yeah.
So we are going to talk about that. But you asked about the list, the nominees. Right?
Yes.
I want to look at them one by one.
Yeah.
Let me start with Kithure Kindiki.
Yeah.
Professor Kithure Kindiki is a scholar par excellence, human rights defender, constitutional lawyer. He has a very long curriculum vitae. Remember, Professor Kindiki was supposed to be the deputy of
President, the running mate.
William Ruto,
Yeah.
the running mate.
Yeah.
But Hesabu 1, 2, 3 did not favor him. So he ended up in the cabinet.
Is it Hesabu or finance?
Whichever. But Hesabu haikuingia, hata Hesabu finance is Hesabu.
Yes.
So then Kithure Kindiki ends up in the cabinet, and Rigathi Gachagua becomes the deputy president, running mate, and the deputy president. Kithure Kindiki, there's no way the president was going to shake him off.
Yeah.
There was no way. It would have been unjust to Kithure Kindiki, who had to take a fall
lesser.
even the other time.
Yeah.
Let's look at Eden Duale. What does he bring to the table? Why has the president retained Eden Duale. Remember the first people to live with President William Ruto
From
from
ODM,
ODM.
yes.
He was one of them and has held Ruto's hand all these years, and they've worked together since Uhuru Kenyatta's government. And even when they were being persecuted in courts while in parliament, Duale remained steadfast. There is no way. That's a loyalist. That's an ally. I don't think he was going to be shaken off. And the Minister of Defense has had very few challenges. Although the other day after they stepped out, I saw the Deputy President being given the chopper of the Kenya Air Force for the first time after a long while. But Duale, there was no way. So Ipan Tuya, I don't know the dynamics that they share with the President that she had to be retained. In the Ministry of Environment, I don't know, and I can't comment about because I don't know. Alice Wahome, I don't know the dynamics why she had to be retained. Miano, I have commented about it, and of course, David Churchill shares a long history with the president
In ICT.
and in ICT, and even when he held no position, when he was at the IBC and all those things, they share a long history with the president. And the only challenging straight, I mean, their affiliates, I think Tuya, you would say by affiliation, she's Maasai, but from the Rift Valley region. So Davis Churchill is an ally again and a loyalist, right? But there are dynamics here that we have to look at. The second press conference by the president, you remember what he said? Any civil servant, state officer, 60 and above, what do?
They go home.
And Davis Churchill, 62. Wahome, over
70, I think.
over 70. So again, that's the president, both sides of the mouth.
mouth.
How did Alice Wahome, who is over 60, and Churchill, who is over 60, get to this cabinet? So those are the dynamics. The rest of, because it's 11 and this is 5 plus Musalia Mudavadi 6, the rest, I barely, apart from Julius Ogembo,
The running mate.
the running mate, I don't know. And it's trending by the
You
way.
need
know-
to emphasize that he was the running mate of Mashogu, and so they are
Mashogu,
friends with
Minister of
Mashogu.
Education.
And
So-
so,
so-
we risk, the president risks Kenyans looking at him as having asked Mashogu, okay, you are my friend, you go step aside,
Watch a deputy
but
officer.
give us a friend of yours to run the ministry. Because, I mean, how do we work like that? But it's subject to public discourse.
So I think, and the question I wanted to ask you, Tanui, maybe is the intrigues behind these nominations. Because if you look at Mweshogu and Ogamba, who is the deputy, now the other side, Ken, what will Raila do? His hand is being forced.
There is the other side that we have to look at dynamics.
Yeah.
Remember, one of the issues that we've talked about is political patronage for a long time in this country and rewarding cronies and friends, and regional balance in all these things. We can analyze this from so many angles. Deborah Barasa, that's definitely from Western Kenya. Kithure Kindiki from Meru. Alice Wahome from Central Kenya.
Murang'a.
Murang'a, Central Kenya. Julius Ogembo from Kisii, Nyanza. Eden Duale, Northeastern. Dr. Muhia Andrew, that could also be part of Central. Or Cumberland. Muhia could be, I'm not sure where that is. Soipan Tuya, Rift Valley, Masai. Eric Mureithi, Central Kenya. Davis Churchill, Rift Valley. Nyambura Margaret, I would assume that is also from Kisii, right? And of course Rebecca Miano, right?
Yeah.
So balancing the regional balance also, he had to make this look like he's really balanced regions in terms of the appointments or the nominations, which by the way has to go to the second stage now.
Yeah, but you know, the block, a good sign to tell you that about what may happen during the next stage of announcement is that the Nyanza block, apart from Kisii, is not represented. I think it's in the president's interest. That's a very big political constituency. And also the coast region. Duale is a Muslim, yes, but he cannot, the coast will demand its own. So that's already a bearing. And that there is more he's still got to do
with this. Definitely I agree with you. And then that takes us now forward to the next conversation.
Yes.
If at all he'll retain 21, where are the other ones coming from? Right?
And who is the
and
giving?
who, you know, this conversation has been so public in the last few days. Today,
Yes.
Kalonzo Musyoka, Charity Ngilu, Eugene Wamalwa, they all met and they released a statement, and it was very explicit on what they are not part of, not what they are part of. It was basically, this is not what we are part of. And Raila Odinga and his ODM party have also made it clear, right, that they support conversations and dialogues that bring the country together. And then we have been reporting, Standard Group and KTN, that they have been holding discussions. Late into the night yesterday, they were holding discussions in Karen, at a hotel in Karen. Today, there were discussions also. We understand that as at yesterday, 11 p.m. in the night, Raila Odinga's side had agreed to be part of President Ruto's cabinet.
Yes.
And they were allocated 7 slots. Out of the 7 slots that they were taking, we don't know who are there, but there are speculations. Ali Hassan Joho, Junet Mohammed, the former governor of Kakamega, Oparanya, and some of his close allies, right? So by this morning, and we understand again that there was a further discussion with the former president, who is the patron of Azimio. That's the former president Uhuru Kenyatta. And after that discussion, it looks like Raila Odinga changed his mind. So as of today morning, he told the other side that please go ahead and announce your
people,
but please hold on to my side a little bit. That's why it was incomplete also. That's the other side of the conversation.
What do you think could have been the problem? Is it the party's reorganization inside there in Azimio, or is it Raila moving with his ODM only, Tanui?
It is a very simple thing, that you do not know what you are getting into. So there are those that are hesitating because they think this is self-immolation, that I accept to be appointed into this government and I look like I'm the one rescuing a corrupt government. Remember, the issues that are facing Ruto are about what?
Corruption,
cronyism, governance issues.
Yes.
So are you sure you are going to help him, or you are going to sink with him? If somebody approaches you, are you taking your reputation, your career through it? So for me, if you look at the differences between Kalonzo and Raila, it's basically about 2027. Is this going to help me in 2027 in terms of how Kenyans will perceive me, or is it going to destroy me? Raila is playing the Japanese kamikaze kind of suicidal game that maybe at my age and I've suffered so much, maybe I just take what is there and live one day at a time. Kalonzo is looking into the future. He thinks as I'm younger. Kalonzo has always believed he's Mr. Clean. I don't know how clean he is. It's what he thinks.
It's a matter of thought.
It's Mr. Clean in politics. So he believes he could be the compromise candidates when things get so rough between all these groups. Because Kenyans seem to have, if you look at the Gen Z's approach, to have given a vote of no confidence both to Raila and to Ruto. So in line with this 2007 strategy, naeza pitia katikati yao kweli nione. I think so. That's what he thinks. But if you look also at the other side of it, political positions are about money, influence, and power. So it's very hard for a politician to resist, because that's the essence of politics. That you have given a share, that even these 7 ministries, it gives you a sense of, it boosts your ego. It gives you some leeway to play around with the resources. It's not for free. There are things that come with it. Public appointments to satisfy your political packers, financiers, and supporters. So all of them are at a crossroads. This is a typical case of Diana, unsure whether to follow the aroma of meat from this side or this side, and wanting to go both sides. Actually, where we are today perfectly fits the analogy Raila used to give us about the dog that was on that bridge and crossing a bridge with a bone in the mouth. Then it saw its reflection, and this other dog also has another in the water,
bigger bone
that jumps into it and drowns with that other in the chase for the bone, which did not exist. So this thing is so convoluted. But clearly, the bottom line that we need to appreciate is all this fight we've been taken through at the political class level was not, including Gachagua complaining about the number, about being not getting enough shares in government, or being put on alienated from the system, was about resources. And you remember the analogy I gave, that people have gone to hunt, they have brought the animal, the carcass, and now there was, before even cutting off, they are fighting each other as to who is taking the most succulent side. So all this is about resources. It's about resources, but the Gen Zs are looking at governance. I feel there could be a disconnect, and it may infuriate those youths. But again, the youth is a formless, leaderless kind of organization. You don't know to bring. I see one of the ministers here, the one called Murithi, is who has been brought on board. If it's cleared by Parliament, he looks a very young man. But I don't know whether but certainly not Gen Z. And I don't think Gen Zs will feel that he's one of us.
He's one of them, yeah.
And where are we in this? What is the bottom line of what we are going through? It is that we have a government that is not attuned to what is happening on the ground. And that's what the president needs to look at. That I've made these appointments. He's the one who gave who awakened this political giant sleeping, the youth, that vijana in serikali yenu, mama mboga in serikali yenu, we will console you. And you know you cannot bring mama mboga to government. It's very hard.
Yeah.
So, border. You remember during the campaigns, he had a border and mama mboga speak at Bomas. So, it's a very delicate thing. But for Raila, Kalonzo, it is a do or die. You know, I think what they are fearing to do is to test the waters with both legs.
Yes.
It may sweep them.
Yeah.
So they'd rather wait and see, and I've told the president, announce we see. So let us see how this reaction to the 11 nominees, how it will play out in the public. Then we see how they'll react. It may actually inform the decision they'll take. But remember, for these opposition parties, they have another dilemma. There are people among them who are jobless. They are at home. They wouldn't mind taking this, and they will not be representing Azimio or ODM or Wiper when they are there. They are going for their own interests and those of the nominating parties.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
As Tanui speaks, I am listening to him, and the other thing that gets to me is the dynamics he's explaining to us. They have changed so much that these young people are not the normal people who you feed, take in.
Yeah.
They don't want you to feed them. They want to be the part of the process you use to cook. The dynamics have changed so much that Raila Odinga no longer knows what to do, because every decision Raila Odinga has made in the past is informed by the end game. He always sees, like Moi used to say, far. Now this one you can't see. And what he's saying is you test, but with one foot. We already know one foot is in. You have agreed to our conversation. You have agreed to sit down and speak to the president. Your party has endorsed this position. And now what remains is you going fully in. Is Raila Odinga ready to take that risk? Because the conversations that we are seeing currently does not favor Raila Odinga and him joining a William Ruto government. What is he going to do in that government? Salvage a government that everyone seems to think is sinking, salvage and sanitize. Remember the conversation that they used to have online regarding Raila Odinga, or Kenyans used to have, is Mwosho.
Mwosho moja.
Anne Waiguru, for example, when she had issues, we saw her go to Capitol Hill, and everyone said,
she's clean.
So long as you've gone to Raila's side.
Yeah.
But this time round, the support that Raila Odinga has in Azimio has waned completely. Raila Odinga is a man remaining with the ODM side. Charity Ngilu is out. Eugene Wamalwa is out. Martha Karua is out. Jeremiah Kioni, by extension Uhuru Kenyatta, is out. Who is Raila remaining with in Azimio? In terms of this, not in terms of disintegration of the coalition, but in terms of making a decision to be inside the government run by William Ruto. Who else? It's only ODM. So they have succeeded, knowingly or unknowingly, to isolate themselves. And now where Kenyans are putting President Ruto's government is exactly where they are putting ODM. And the conversations are going on right now regarding what they have done and the next step that that President William Ruto is going to do.
So
it
seems like it's a Ruto-Raila alliance, not a broad-based alliance than we then, if the way Ken is being done, bringing that analogy. And what did Uhuru tell, President Uhuru tell Raila in that phone call for over 1 hour?
You know, I once heard that when Kibaki was handing over to Uhuru Kenyatta, I heard grapevine that he told Uhuru Kenyatta one thing: Huyu mzee, you don't want him away from you. Find every possible way to work with him. Otherwise, you'll never work.
That's Raila.
Yes, Raila. When Uhuru Kenyatta was handing to William Ruto, they never had that conversation. He never even went back to State House.
Yeah.
But being the politician William Ruto is, he's always known that the only way to succeed is when you embrace Raila Odinga. Because one time, Francis Atwoli said, there are only 3 people who can give you public holidays in this country. And Raila Odinga was one of them. So last night, Uhuru Kenyatta I was not part of the conversation, must have dissuaded Raila Odinga from making this move. For Raila Odinga to walk back on what they had discussed and concluded yesterday at a hotel that we are privy to where they were sitting yesterday. And whoever was in that meeting, we know who was in that meeting. And them having settled on a list of people to be announced
Nominated,
today,
yes.
or nominated by the president. And for him to wake up today and say, no, announce your side, my side will come later. Right? Uhuru Kenyatta must have dissuaded Raila Odinga last night. That conversation, whether it lasted 2, 3, 4 hours, he must have opened the eyes of Raila Odinga to the reality that Junet Mohammed unfortunately cannot open. He cannot, because he's a beneficiary of a government.
And
Joho is a beneficiary, and that's why Coast is missing in this list.
Yeah.
Oparanya, that's why
Western
is still missing on this list.
Mudavadi represents them.
As a super
CS.
Super, not only prime, but super.
I don't know how he spends his day because he's been appointed to act in all the fucking ministries. Until these guys are even cleared.
Yes.
So maybe when these ones are cleared, so he lacked in the balance of ministries because the ministries are in and out.
22, yes.
Yeah. So I don't know whether he goes from one office to the next or he sits in your service and receives permanent secretaries.
Yes.
Because there are things that government protocols require it is signed off by a minister.
By a minister, yes, exactly.
Yeah. But the other thing, Ken and Charles, that we need to look at is if we take back, if we go back in time, supposing this thing had happened before Raila announced this bid for the African Union, AU position, and that he needs Ruto's support because you have to be fronted by government, and probably that broke their ice. They were able to speak from that time. And would he have acted differently? Assuming this is not a carrot being dangled, because now he needs Ruto. Is Raila
isn't catch-22?
But it's not. Legally, Raila just needs the endorsement or support from the country that sponsors him. So he just needs, the rest of the world or Africa just needs to know that Kenya is behind Raila Odinga. He doesn't need express support from William Ruto at all, legally. He just needs to be endorsed. Because if the president, your host president, says, I don't want you, then how will the other presidents react to your candidature? So the only thing that Africa Union, the 51 voting countries, needed to know is that Kenya actually supports
Raila. And exactly, so does Raila feel tied?
I don't think he's, if you look at it legally,
not legally.
Morally.
You have supported
he feels indebted to
Ruto has gone around
the African continent,
almost completing the whole circle. Yes.
And saying this is our man.
Publicly, yes. So he could fail, but what is the level of indebtedness? What is that level? Because the level is, do I grant you peace to finish your term, or do I come in to help cleanse the image that you've shown or given Kenyans? Because there are two faults. One, he can just say, I am no longer going to host hold Maandamano in this country. I am no longer going to speak. Remember, Raila Odinga kept quiet for close to 1 year after Maandamano ended. So what is the peace that he's giving? What is it that he's giving President Ruto? He could give it by just saying, you know what, I have done my part as an opposition and I am not a majority leader in the National Assembly, neither am I a majority leader in the Senate. I am just going to let Opio Wandai and the other side, who's a Senate minority leader?
Wambua.
Wambua is not the majority leader. Whoever the majority leader
is
at
not
the Senate.
Enoch
Wambua, majority leader in the Senate.
No, minority.
Minority leader in the Senate?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
No, I don't think it's Enoch Wambua. So whoever, because Enoch, remember, comes from Wiper.
Yes.
That reminds me,
yes.
One of the reasons why you would see the other part of Azimio pulling away is how they are viewed ODM. Remember, even the political parties' funds, they always say the lion's share is taken by
ODM.
Even there's that fear that eventually, when you put your people in position, our people will never be anywhere else. So that could also be the fear. But back to my point is perhaps Raila Odinga is doing it, just extending what he's done in the last 1 year, keeping quiet and allowing William Ruto to take charge of the government he was voted in. He doesn't need to go further than that. He doesn't need to get into that government. Because again, the conversation right now, Charles, is when we were fighting, when all these things were happening, we were not doing it for Raila Odinga to get positions in William Ruto's government. How comes now he's the sole beneficiary with his team by getting into William Ruto's government? That's the other conversation going on online. How does it fit in what we've been doing the last 5 weeks? How does Raila Odinga and his friends and his cronies and his supporters fit in what we've been doing? Then why did 50 people die?
So
Yes.
I want to take the debate away a bit from Raila,
Yeah.
Because it's not the subject of this.
Yeah.
We're looking at a frustrated president
Yeah.
trying to navigate out of all these messes that he is in. And we begin with promises that are not fulfilled. That is where we are.
Yeah.
One, before he formed this cabinet, he promised during the campaign that half of them will be women. Yeah?
Tani, you reminded us half of them will be women. Yes, sure.
And he failed on that promise day one.
Yeah, the first day
I
actually.
think there were 8 ladies in the cabinet.
Yeah, but he had said half.
Half of it, yes.
Yes.
So 10-10.
Half
Yes.
is
Or
mathematics.
11-11.
Yes.
Yes. This gender issue is so sensitive these days. Even now they'll ask, why is it Charles, Ken, and Tanui, and there's no lady? So that's one thing. So I would like, when we look back at this, we look at the frustration of the president, and he's trying to solve a problem. And the question is, the demands are so high. Remember, first, there is Ruto must go.
Yes.
We need to uproot this government to the roots.
Yes.
The Gen Zs have said they are going, in Miguna's language, to deconstruct parliament.
Yes.
Not just physically with the attack, but the recall processes.
Yeah.
It's going. They want the PS, the government structures redone. So I am sure if the people like Raila being politically cunning, they are also weighing to see how safe is it and how far can I go into this government. And remember, there is no MOU. It's just that there are private discussions between Ruto and these leaders, which is calling consultation. What is that anchored in any agreement?
Zero agreement.
You can just go there and be like Raila when he was made prime minister, and he was ignored by the ministers that were reporting that were appointed by the other side. So Raila basically was basically just a prime minister by name for the first about 1 year.
Yeah.
Just that we have Simulisema Tukuja, but at least East was anchored in a constitutional change.
Yeah.
But we are not talking about any constitutional arrangement in this one, because it's pretty obvious. It's but what guarantees do you have that in moment of frustration, Ruto has reached out for you to nominate certain ministers and take certain segments of government, that it will be kept in good faith after these are settled? We are still in panic mode. Is Ruto acting in good faith or frustration? And when you are slipping down a river and drowning, you will grasp anything. Is he grasping anything? I'm not saying he's dying, but politically, there is shrinkage of his popularity completely. International stage is being deflated. He needs to look like, I am in charge. I have listened to you. Give me an opportunity to build this country afresh. People are looking at him. The world is looking at him. So when you go there, are you sure you are going to get all the levers to help, or you'll go and when the situation stabilizes, it brings his own team to the, when you are in a big ship and there's turbulence, you call all the experts to come into the engine room. Or let's do this. Once it is on course and the
you
sea
tell
has
them
come,
step up.
you can now say wacha watu wakae tu wakule
Na
pesa
bendera.
na bendera. Luckily bendera siku hizi hawataki kubeba. So you've seen the former ministers coming to office here.
Never.
They arrive and the security asking them, I'm a minister, because they fear that they may bump into Gen Zs on the road.
So the question, Tanui, which you've brought and I'll take to Ken, the Gen Zs, will they be pacified with this half list?
Never. They don't even look. Have you seen the conversation that is going? No one is talking about what the president has done. Everyone is talking about what the president has not done.
Wow.
Everyone is talking. I am yet to meet anyone online talking about, the president has nominated. Everyone is talking about what the president has not done, which means everyone is still talking about the unmet expectation, right?
Yeah.
But again, having said that, I'm just looking at the list again, Charles, and I'm looking at the other conversation, Ruto's loyalists and close allies that are missing from that list already, because he would have nominated them.
Kipchumba Murkomen.
This is very important. Njuguna Ndungu.
Kipchumba Murkomen.
Justin Muturi was obvious. I think the
headline.
The standard kicked off the debate.
Yeah.
Alfred Mutua, who was, by the way, rewarded because Alfred Mutua, apart from being a friend to the president, he was a presidential candidate and he had a political party, Chap, that had decided to come to crossover to join the president's side, UDA side, right? So he was rewarded. Where does he go, right? Moses Kuria, Kipchumba Murkomen, Zachary Njeru. I hardly heard of him once in the last 2 years. I don't know if you guys did. I didn't. Penina Malonza, we all know it was obvious she was not going to come back. Mithika Linturi, the dynamics that put Mithika Linturi there. Ababu Namwamba, Simon Chelogui, one of the few people that he crossed over with from Uhuru Kenyatta's government.
He was the only one.
He was the only one, apart from the other positions, Monica Juma's and the rest. And we are talking at Eliud Owalo. And, of course, I've just seen also the women in the former cabinet were actually 8. There were 8.
But what I think, I don't know where, the president still has a window to bring some of them back.
But how many?
He may not bring all of them. But I still see there is a chance he can still try and navigate this, especially if the Raila side, Kalonzo stonewalls.
But what do you think in that? What will that tell Kenyans about his choice, having dismissed all of them, and then you bring most of them back? Why then did you dismiss it, Tanui? Why then did you dismiss all of them?
The criteria to be a cabinet secretary, the way we know, does not start and end with the qualifications that are in law.
On paper.
On the ground, the reality is friendship.
Regional balance.
How did you bring this? How did you help set up this government? The long-term ties, So some are even personal friendships as of now as to what to do with them. And he might be telling them, I'll find a way. Like a father, a good father. When their children demand things that you can't afford at that time, you buy time. So he could be going to look at how to accommodate them. But remember, there is a bigger force in this country other than the formal government. The formal government, as I told you, is about the positions we are seeing. The informal government is the so-called kitchen cabinet. The people who call the shots behind the scene. People who do not have any formal position. You don't even know what their office is called, but they give orders. And in this informal government, it gravitates around Farouk Ibet and some other people in State House who hold immense powers. That I was being told of one director in State House, for example, who has control of who will sit where, who sees the president's hammer. And at the director level. I'm sure there is the control of that. There are people up there, but this is the informal government. So the good faith in the president will be discernible from to what extent will we restrain the informal government, the one that doesn't come to our faces. Remember, this was about people throwing their weight and punching power above their grade, to the extent that the deputy president was lamenting that I am now being subjected to being insubordinated by blockers. Remember he said that? And people junior to me. As the president addressed that. So as he's mending this other side of the formal face of government, giving it the face of Kenya, there is a lot he has to do in the background as an act of good faith to the Kenyans and to the people coming in. And I'm sure there's hesitation by people like Raila. How do we trust? It's again the question of trust.
It's trust, yes.
It's again a question of trust. And when you look at it again, when you looked at the president walk in, he looked so lonely. I mean, he was with Mudavadi.
For the first time, by the way, in the last 3 weeks.
He was Mudavadi. He was Mudavadi. And then Kashaga, who he has had problems with. I think he's been spending more time calling, making sure that he tags along Gachagua to send the message to Kenyans that we are one. But if you look at the appointments again, Mount Kenya seems to be having a head start. There's people with the roots in Mount Kenya. They seem to be having a head start. So the others are watching. So whichever way the president plays this campo, if the impression is that again he has sacrificed us and we are the ones who voted this government to accommodate the Raila side that didn't vote for you, we are headed to agreement. And remember that aside from what Ken said, the Chinese are there watching. And they are saying, even this cabinet, we didn't ask you to dissolve the cabinet. We asked you to step down with them. Anguka? Now. So will that silence that street chant, Anguka now?
I doubt whether it will silence Anguka now, but the question maybe Ken would help us to unravel is that the president seems to look like he's trying too hard, but he's heading nowhere in the face of the Gen Z and the other people who are there. What is the rate of success, do you think, after this, the people around will see?
I think to answer your question, Charles, we go to the demands.
Yeah.
The original demands, the amended demands, the re-amended demands, the amended demands,
yes,
and the amended demands that these people have had.
Yeah.
And look at the footnote of those demands. It has remained constant. Even when they're ticking the boxes. Angusha rejects finance bill, tick. CS positions, tick. Cabinet dissolution, tick. At the footnote, there's always one demand that has remained constant.
Yeah.
Ruto must go. When you ask the rate of success, I think you go back to that list. And they have spoken and said, when they say Ruto must go, it's not William Ruto alone. It's everyone that is involved with William Ruto. Then the question is, the new people that are coming in, are they going to pacify them? Are they going to give that soft face that now the Gen Z can say, hey, the president has taken a good step here. Why don't we step back and allow him to work and see what he can do to us or for us as a nation? Is he listening so that even when we vet, I was with Martha Karua on the show on Wednesday.
Yeah.
One of the things she said that to me was profound, that it's gotten out of the president's hand, that even if he announces the cabinet, because Martha was not pro even formation of a new cabinet, was Anguka now. So what Martha was saying is, if at all, because I asked Martha, what is the worst case scenario or the best case scenario for the president if he decides to form a new cabinet? And then she said, he will still have a problem because even that new cabinet will and must be vetted by the Gen Z. And that's why less than 5 minutes after nominating this 11, Kenyans identified Julius Ogembo straight up and said, but this was the running mate. They already started the scrutiny. They're already looking at who is he bringing in. That's how we know the profile of of Eric Muredi, for example, because they've started the scrutiny. That's why, for example, we have looked at all the 11 and noticed the people who are missing because we're looking at what he has not done. What he's done is no one's business, but what he has not done. And part of that conversation is, why are we bringing Kindiki back? Why is Alice back? Why is Duale back? Why is Soepan back? Why is Rebecca Miano back? Why is Davis Churchill back? Because the conversation is not about what he has done. It's about what he has not done, including why didn't you just let them go and bring us a new cabinet? So the rate of success will be measured against that list.
Yeah, but don't you think that tomorrow we'll be waking up to another problem? That people will have gone to court, either someone from civil society, to pursue that interpretation of the dismissal by the president as a justifiable reason that these people had failed in the delivery, in competency and Chapter 6, integrity. Because he said that they could have done better. So when you have pushed them, you have given a blanket condemnation with your own words. So tomorrow, people will be saying this, and you've seen the argument being pushed by lawyer Avi, and senior counsel Ahmed Nasir, that these amounted to impeachment. So I'm sure tomorrow there will be another problem again. And you know, the biggest nightmare for the president, apart from Gen Z's now, is court. Because he seemed to have either weak legal advice or ignores. because everything is challengeable in court. There is nothing, the decisions they make end up being challenged in court. And when it's challenged, it is frozen. Even today, when the president was talking about public debt, he's not, and saying we are working on it and all this, he's silent on the process that he started and it failed. Because LSK said there's a legitimate office to do that.
A constitutional office.
A constitutional office.
Yes.
So this thing of kiraka kupiga kiraka patches up and there, it's going to be tough.
Tanui, can I remind you of something that has happened in the last 5 weeks that is interesting and adds to your point exactly? You remember when the president declined to assent to the Finance Bill 2024. The words that he used then were challenged immediately. And we found them to be unconstitutional and does not exist in law. And we sat here and lawyers challenged it. When he released the recall memo, he used the right words, right? Which means, what are we saying? The advice, the people who tell him what to do at what point, because Ruto can't be all-knowing. He has to have advisors. That's why Kenyans shoulder that burden of advisors. So they are impulsive in their thinking, according to me. So they will tell the president, this is exactly what to say. Then the president says, then realize, hey, I did a mistake. This is not how I was supposed to represent it. What is my point? My point is, when he was dismissing the cabinet, he was told, what you do, dissolve the cabinet, right? Then he was not advised on the implication of the words he used then again, dissolution. Then Harvey, who by the way supported him, right, comes out and says, thank you, Mr. President. What you have done exactly is to put a death sentence, career death sentence on these people in public service, based on ethics, public service and integrity and Chapter 6 of the Constitution. They can never come back. So then he sits and thinks, if you would have told me to use or not, or probably to dismiss part of the cabinet and retain these 5, right? Then he will not be in this dilemma. Again, is what Tanui is saying. Now you come back today, then he brings them back. Then someone will say, but what you did then when you dismissed them told us by implication, because implication is legal, right? You can use it in court. You implied a vote of no confidence. You implied on inability to execute. You mentioned, you said they would have done better, which means they didn't do their best. And then again, you're bringing them. So I think the way they progress in their discussions and actions, they don't think with the end in sight. They always think there and then reality hits them. So what he's saying is true. Civil society, by Monday this weekend, people will be busy drafting. And it will go to court and say, but you told us that you dismissed everyone by dissolving the cabinet. You would have retained the 5. You only retained Musalia Mudavadi. Then today you come and bring them back. How? Under what section of article in the Constitution are you bringing them back? 152, which part of 152 are you bringing them back? That you never used to dismiss them. So it's a big question once again, and I agree. By Monday, the 5 will be challenged in court. Why are they back in your cabinet after you told us that they are unfit to hold the office? And you went ahead and dissolved that cabinet.
So not to forget that the guys who will not fit in the government, in this cabinet who are there, will no longer, will unless he handles them at a private level, will also become an headache to him.
Yes.
Douala had made it clear. He retreated to his backyard, and he had made it clear the pastoralists are not represented. Of course, the religious card. He started the politics of blackmail. That Mr. President, we have sent us home, we sacrificed, but of course, the unstated, maybe financial backing during the campaign, the votes that they brought in, and the face of Kenya that they gave to the campaign and team. So we don't know what the others are doing. If we were to follow the president's word, what we expected next was an inquisition into the monies that were lost and whether because the Chinese asked for recovery. That you have said, these are have we known the root of the source of the money these guys were flashing around? Are those taps, as I say, still flowing? And if they are not flowing, what is the evidence that you have stopped, you have acted? The president has not shown up to today what are the measures he's deploying to deal with that leakage of public taxes that was creating overnight billionaires. Overnight billionaires. That is a discussion that is yet to come. And on the other side, you don't know what these guys are doing now that they're outside government and they are aggrieved. One or two of them or three of them and their communities. I can tell you, for example, for free, people that are used to the Kalenjin support for Ruto is intact, sort of. That is the debatable. Maybe it's a bit behind that. But the dent it serves is, so you've been pushed. Now we have taken we have taken heat for that. That now we have only Chirchir. Chirchir is from Kericho. The entire Rift Valley, the entire North Rift will say, okay,
unrepresented.
We are unrepresented. And Ruto may say, okay, the head of civil service is from, which is not a political appointment, which is not a political position. People, as I just said, that man reports to you. It is part of your office.
Yes.
So whichever way the president
want to feel the power on the ground.
Yes.
Or flags.
Yes.
Which we are not saying.
Yes.
And nani hapa nakuja na flag.
Yeah. So we have a long way to go.
Yeah. So when you say
it's a delicate balancing act, even for the president. The last podcast, I think we spoke about self-preservation.
Yeah.
How much would the president yield to remain
in the office and in
the
power?
office?
He has no choice. It is, as I said, is in this aircraft that has taken off. It is in the skies, and you have to struggle and sweat in the cockpit,
yes,
and call as many people to help you, but you can't crash land.
You can't allow it.
The crash landing option would be literally like handing over to them, telling the military to take over.
Yeah.
Knowing your president, do you think in the way he has held power, the way he's displayed it, the way he's lavished it, self
gratification for him?
Do you think he will just cease like that?
No,
and he'll also say, I'm constitutionally elected the president.
But there's a question Martha raised, Tanui, that perhaps you and Charles now can answer. When Martha told me on Wednesday that it's no longer in President Ruto's hand, if I have been given a responsibility by individuals and they surrender their will to me,
yes,
via the Constitution, and tell me, be our president, we have voted for you, and the Constitution begins to play and he's sworn in and he becomes the president. Remember, Article 1 remains
power
intact.
belongs to the people.
Supremacy of the Constitution is intact. Article 10 on the values remains intact. So what happens if the same people who told you be our president
revokes it,
tells you we have revoked it, you are not my president, and you have to go? What a moral, legal mandate do you have to continue sitting in, even as he tells us that, do you know your president? Does he look like
the long and short of this is that there are a lot more of things that we have to wait and see how they play out for us to give an answer, to even try and answer that question. How far will he yield? Because I'm sure even himself, the president gets all manner of intelligence, all manner of feedback on what is happening. Remember, even as the president fights to hold on to his government, his space, bring in these people, there's another arm of government that is still unleashing terror on the perceived enemies
of the presidency.
Of the president who could be behind this. Today, and it's again the game of the president cropping in the dark. Today they have thrown in the name of Africa Uncensored, saying it's getting funding from Ford Foundation. Ford Foundation, I was told, I'm surprised actually, I need to check that Ford Foundation, it is on record, it supported the judiciary with millions. I am told by people, as somebody who ought to know, and we need to check that again, that the president's wife, the First Lady Rachel, our foundation, the one that it's called Joywo, actually got a lot of funding from
Ford Foundation,
yes, to help the women. So in all this, we are still cropping in the dark. That look at what happened to Macharia Kaido. That they went for him, and the Subaru guys, and the only thing they wanted to show that the identification that we are police is that we have Subarus and we have guns. So today I think I should be buying Subaru if I want to intimidate people on the way.
We should
But-
intimidate Kanu in his
so
V8.
there's the crackdown on journalists.
Yes.
It is they are the abductions.
Yeah.
So all these are going parallel to reconstructing government. So at what point?
the
So
honesty?
where is the honesty? At what point will it come together? And you know, the whole thing is about intimidation. Let us pursue